What if I told you that becoming irresistible to most women has nothing to do with charm, looks, or status, and everything to do with mastering one uncomfortable truth? Here it is. Women are not drawn to men who seek approval. They're drawn to the man who no longer needs it. Stoicism teaches that when a man stops chasing reactions, outcomes, or emotional reassurance, he becomes magnetic, not because he's trying to impress, but because he's finally centered in who he is. This is the harsh truth. Most men repel attraction by over-giving, over-explaining, and over-proving. But the moment you detach from needing to be liked, she starts feeling something she can't explain but can't ignore. Right now, you might be trying harder than you should. But when you embody calm detachment, clear boundaries, and emotional sovereignty, you enter the rare 4.3% of men she can't stop thinking about. If you're ready to let go of neediness and become the man who women chase in silence, like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment. I attract without asking, I hold without needing. Number 1. The hidden force behind real attraction. Most men think attraction is a game of looks, wealth, or grand gestures. But here's the harsh truth. What truly pulls a woman in isn't what you show, it's what you control within. Emotional strength, the kind that isn't loud or flashy, is the real magnetic force. It's not about chasing her or flaunting confidence. It's about being unmoved, unbothered, and deeply rooted in your presence. The type of man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole. Picture this. A man walks into a room. He's not the tallest, richest, or flashiest, but he owns the space, not by taking it, but by being unshakably centered in it. He doesn't talk too much. He doesn't scan for approval. His stillness speaks louder than any words. This is what women feel, not see, when they talk about a man having a presence. It's the result of internal sovereignty, not external performance. Why does this matter? Because most men have been conditioned to perform to prove their worth through actions, possessions, or charm. Hollywood has fed us a dream. Chase her through an airport, confess in the rain, and she'll fall into your arms. But in the real world, these gestures often signal instability, desperation, and emotional neediness. Women feel that, and instead of security, they feel burdened. The truth is sobering. Women don't fall for the man trying to impress. They fall for the man who doesn't need to. The man who isn't shaken by rejection, who doesn't crave being understood, who stays grounded whether she stays or walks. That's emotional gravity, and it's rare. From a Stoic lens, this is ataraxia, a state of unshaken tranquility. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength radiates outward. You no longer respond with emotional chaos. You choose your response slow, calm, intentional. That calm becomes her comfort. And Carl Jung would argue that this presence is the fruit of integrating your shadow, your insecurity, fear of abandonment, need for approval. When these unconscious fears are brought into light, they stop controlling you. You become whole, and wholeness is attractive. So what's the shift? Stop chasing approval. Start building gravity. How? Ask yourself in every interaction, am I trying to be liked or am I being real? Speak less but with more intention. Let silence do some of the work. Don't react. Observe first. Respond only when it aligns with your values. When you begin to embody stillness, women don't just notice, they feel it. Emotional safety is the foundation of romantic desire. And no one wants to love someone who is constantly seeking to be chosen. Be the man who has already chosen himself. Now speak out and comment below. I don't need to impress. I choose presence. Number 2. Why loud effort fails and quiet strength wins her over. We live in a world that glorifies spectacle. Flashy cars, dramatic declarations of love, luxurious vacations broadcast on social media, all of it designed to impress. Men unknowingly get caught in this web, believing that attraction is earned through external demonstrations. But here's the paradox. The more you try to prove your worth, the less attractive you become. Let's take a closer look. Modern media sells a myth. The classic rom-com script tells you, chase her down, beg for one more chance, confess everything under a stormy sky. It works in the movies, But in life, those gestures often trigger discomfort, not desire. Why? Because behind the scenes of these dramatic actions is often a man disconnected from himself, driven by fear, not presence. Women don't fall for the act, they feel the energy behind it. Attraction isn't about creating a spectacle. It's about embodying a quiet strength. The man who doesn't try to be noticed, who doesn't anxiously scan a room for validation, who doesn't explain himself to win approval, that is the man who quietly dominates the emotional landscape. His silence isn't passive, it's filled with purpose. This brings us to a critical realization. When your actions are rooted in a need to be validated, you surrender your masculine frame. In essence, you give her the power to decide your worth. That's not attractive, it's self-betrayal. As Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because your worth isn't determined by how others perceive you. It's forged from how you carry yourself when no one applauds. Now, let's examine a few real-world examples. One man tries to impress his date by constantly name-dropping his career success and travel history. He laughs at every opportunity, trying too hard to be liked. Meanwhile, another man speaks with intention, listens attentively, and doesn't flinch when the conversation turns vulnerable. The first man may entertain. The second man, however, builds emotional trust, and trust breeds desire. From Carl Jung's lens, the desperate need to impress stems from an unintegrated shadow, that part of the psyche holding your fears of inadequacy. The louder you perform, the more obvious that shadow becomes. A woman's subconscious picks up on that energy. She may not know why, but something feels off. On the other hand, when you embrace your shadow, when you no longer fear being not enough, your presence becomes grounded. Women sense that. They feel emotionally safer. They feel curious. The myth of the pickup artist also falls apart here. Techniques, scripts, and manipulative routines might get attention, but they don't create real attraction. Why? Because they replace authenticity with performance. And no woman with depth wants to build her trust on manipulation. Attraction without integrity is just a temporary high. Real attraction, the kind that makes a woman stay, begins where performance ends. So how do you begin this transformation? Let's make it practical. Audit your behavior. Every time you feel compelled to talk about your job status or past relationships, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this to connect or to be admired? Choose silence over explanation. You don't need to justify your choices, your past, or your emotional state. A man who owns his life without seeking permission earns quiet respect. Reframe rejection. Instead of seeing it as failure, see it as a reflection of her readiness, not your worth. Your energy should never depend on another's perception. And most importantly, practice inner stillness. The man who can sit with discomfort, who doesn't panic when silence fills the air, or when a woman doesn't immediately respond, becomes unshakable. That is magnetic. Seneca, another Stoic master, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. We waste it trying to be seen, to be chosen, to be praised." But when you choose not to perform, when you simply are, something profound happens. You stop chasing, you start attracting. In Jungian terms, this is individuation, the journey of becoming whole. When you stop outsourcing your self-worth, you align with your authentic self, and that authenticity shines brighter than any clever pickup line ever could. So let the others compete with noise. Let them fight for attention. You don't need to. Stand still and let her feel your presence in the silence. Now speak out and comment below. I don't perform, I embody. Number 3, the calm that draws her in not needing to prove anything. Imagine this. A man walks into a room and doesn't look around to see who noticed him. He doesn't raise his voice to dominate conversations. He doesn't try to prove his status or flex his charm. And yet people are drawn to him, especially women. Why? Because in a world addicted to noise, his calm becomes captivating. His stillness is not emptiness, it's presence, it's power. This is the essence of Stoic calm, not the suppression of emotion, but the mastery of reaction. True masculine energy is not reactive. It's deliberate. It's not about showing the world what you can do. It's about knowing you don't have to. The Stoic man doesn't rush to explain himself, doesn't seek to change people's opinions, and doesn't try to control what is outside of him. His focus is inward, refined, directed, and disciplined. And it is this presence that women trust, respect, and desire. From the outside, it looks like silence. But beneath the surface, it's strength under tension, the kind that holds steady under pressure. Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. And strength in the Stoic sense is not aggression. It's unshakable inner peace. Now compare that to the man who pretends to be calm. His silence is forced, his movements rehearsed, his detachment fake. This is still performance, a mask to manipulate perception. Women can sense it. They may not articulate why, but the energy feels off. And when a woman feels something is inauthentic, her guard goes up. There is a massive difference between faking detachment and living detachment. The former is brittle, easily shattered when tested. The latter is resilient, forged through mental discipline and spiritual clarity. And this resilience is what creates what I call emotional gravity, the force that makes people want to orbit around you. Take an example. In a conversation, most men feel the urge to impress, to keep talking, to crack jokes, to over-explain themselves. But the man who says less, pauses before he responds, and speaks with intentionality creates intrigue. He creates safety. He's not trying to win because he knows he's not in a game. Stoicism teaches you to build this power from the inside out. You begin by observing your emotions without judgment. You learn to breathe deeply when provoked, to wait instead of react, and to hold your posture when the world tries to shake it. This calm is a practiced state, not a trait you're born with. And Carl Jung would add that this calm isn't just for appearances, it reflects integration. When you've faced the chaos within the parts of yourself that feel inadequate, insecure, or afraid, and made peace with them, you no longer fear rejection. You don't need to prove anything because you've already accepted everything within you. This is inner freedom, and inner freedom is magnetic. So how do you practice this? Let's go deeper. Meditate daily, not to escape thoughts, but to observe them. Calm is built through observation, not suppression. Embrace silence in conversation. Stop filling every gap with noise. When you hold silence, you hold power. Train your body through cold showers, physical discipline, or focused movement. The body influences the mind. Calm outside begins with discomfort inside. Reframe rejection. Every no you receive is not a reflection of your worth, but a filter that brings you closer to what aligns with your nature. Women are not looking for perfect men. They're looking for safe men, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually safe. Not men who hide their chaos, but men who've mastered it. That's why the calm man is unforgettable. He gives her something few men can, the freedom to let her guard down, to feel safe in his energy, to just be. Remember, you don't need to be loud to be seen. You don't need to perform to be respected. And you certainly don't need to explain your worth. Your presence already speaks. Now, comment below. My calm is louder than their noise. Number 4. Her nervous system responds before her mind. The science of emotional safety. Long before a woman decides whether she finds you attractive, her body has already responded to your energy. This may sound mystical, but it's deeply biological. Her nervous system, designed over millions of years for survival, is constantly scanning for one thing: safety. And emotional safety is the new currency of desire. Forget the old playbook that says women want alpha displays of dominance or external symbols of status. In reality, the attraction switch is flipped when her body feels regulated in your presence, when her breath slows her muscles, relax, and her guard drops. This is not about what you say, but how your being makes her feel. This emotional gravity begins with your inner state. A calm man triggers a calm environment. Through the mirror neuron system, her nervous system unconsciously syncs with yours. If you are tense, needy, or anxious, her body senses instability and tightens up. But if your presence is grounded, if your eyes rest and don't dart around seeking approval, if your voice remains low and steady, even when tension rises, her subconscious registers. This is someone I can exhale around. Let's be clear, this has nothing to do with being passive. Stoic calm is not weakness. It's not emotional numbness, it's emotional leadership. The calm man leads the room not by demanding attention, but by creating space. His presence invites openness because it contains no threat, no chaos, no need to dominate. Here's a vivid example. A woman and a man are having a disagreement. She raises her voice slightly, expecting pushback, but instead of reacting, he stays centered. He listens. His breathing stays even. He acknowledges her perspective without surrendering his ground. She might still be frustrated, but somewhere deep inside, she feels something rare. I can trust this man with my emotions. That moment of containment builds a bond stronger than charm or wit ever could. Carl Jung referred to this phenomenon as limbic resonance, the non-verbal emotional alignment between two people. He believed that true connection happens when unconscious energies align. And women are especially sensitive to this because evolutionarily, emotional attunement has always been essential for choosing a safe partner. From a Stoic perspective, this mastery of presence stems from one key truth. You are disturbed not by events, but by your opinion about them. Epictetus, in other words, when someone lashes out, withdraws, or tests you, your strength lies not in controlling them, but in remaining rooted in your own state. So what does this look like in daily practice? Breathwork. One of the fastest ways to regulate your nervous system is by controlling your breath. Deep, slow breathing before a conversation or date aligns your physiology with calm leadership. Eye contact with ease. Don't stare to dominate. Let your eyes rest. Presence is in the softness, not intensity. Pause before you speak. Let your words be intentional. When you slow down, you become the anchor in a fast-moving world. Drop the need to be right. Let go of the ego that wants to win. Emotional safety is created when you prioritize connection over dominance. And here's a deeper insight. Your presence gives her unconscious permission to be vulnerable. When a woman feels she doesn't have to perform around you, her real self emerges. And in that vulnerable space, true attraction is born, the kind that doesn't fade after the initial high. This is the silent power of the Stoic man. He doesn't impress, he invites. He doesn't chase, he attracts. His stability becomes the emotional container for her freedom, and that is what makes him unforgettable. So ask yourself, do I create tension or dissolve it? Do I react from fear or respond from clarity? Because women don't just remember what you did, they remember how you made them feel. Now comment below, my energy is her peace. Number 5, the power of the Stoic frame. When you stop being shaken, she starts respecting. Most men are walking through life with no frame. They shift depending on who they're around, what someone says, or how a woman treats them. One compliment and they're on a high. One cold reply and their confidence collapses. This emotional volatility isn't just unattractive, it's dangerous to your own sense of self. Because when you lack a solid internal frame, you become easy to control. And the truth is, women test this constantly, even unconsciously. So what is a frame? In Stoic terms, your frame is your inner citadel, your personal kingdom, the space no one else gets to rule but you. It's your beliefs, your emotions, your reactions, guarded, disciplined, and sovereign. Marcus Aurelius called it the only thing you truly own, your mind. Your frame isn't something you say, it's something you carry. A man with a strong frame walks through life unfazed, not because nothing affects him, but because nothing controls him. Women are wired to sense this. Through a phenomenon called limbic resonance, they detect subtle shifts in your emotional state. If she pulls away and you immediately chase, your frame cracks. If she gets upset and you spiral into guilt to calm her, your frame folds. And once your frame folds, respect evaporates. Attraction follows soon after. Here's a common real-life moment. A woman suddenly becomes distant. She replies slower, seems less enthusiastic. Most men panic. They double text, ask what's wrong, try harder. But the Stoic man does none of that. He notices the shift, stays present, and doesn't collapse. Maybe she's testing him. Maybe she's genuinely off. Either way, he doesn't chase validation. His self-worth isn't on the line. That subtle act, not reacting, communicates volumes. It says, I don't need you to feel whole. That's the frame. And paradoxically, that's what brings her back. From Carl Jung's perspective, a man who holds his frame has integrated his shadow, the rejected parts of himself that crave approval, fear, abandonment, or get triggered by rejection. He's brought those unconscious insecurities into light and said, you're mine now. You don't own me anymore. This inner reconciliation builds emotional strength, the foundation of a masculine frame. And that's the point. Frame isn't dominance. It's not about controlling her. It's about controlling yourself. It's not stiff arrogance. It's fluid strength. Your frame doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be unshakable. And women feel that long before they understand it. So how do you reinforce your frame? Don't chase emotional highs, whether it's praise, intimacy, or romantic attention. Receive it with gratitude, but don't depend on it. Frame collapses when you need it. Slow your reactions. When someone tries to provoke you, let your first move be stillness. Count to 3. Breathe. Choose response over impulse. Define your non-negotiables. Know your boundaries and stick to them. If she tests them and you fold, she learns you don't stand for anything. Ground yourself daily, whether it's cold showers, journaling, or meditation. Remind yourself, the world can shake, but I remain. Let's be honest, women will test you. Not because they're cruel, but because they're drawn to strength. They need to feel that the man in front of them can hold not just his emotions, but hers too. If you crumble at the first sign of challenge, how can you be trusted with her heart? This doesn't mean being rigid or emotionally distant. It means being rooted. It means knowing who you are so deeply that no mood message or meltdown can make you forget it. And in a world of men who shift with the wind, the man who holds his ground becomes magnetic. So next time the moment comes when she tests, your patience withdraws slightly or challenges your belief, don't take the bait. Smile, stay grounded, and let your frame do the speaking. Now comment below. My frame is built on truth, not approval. Number 6, self-mastery, the unshakable core of true masculine power. At the root of everything we've explored, presence, calm, emotional safety, and masculine frame, lies one fundamental principle: self-mastery. Without it, every tactic is fragile. Every insight is temporary. You can fake composure, rehearse boundaries, and imitate confidence for a while, but when life tests you, as it always does, the truth will reveal itself. You either are the man or you're playing a role. And the difference is found in how deeply you've mastered yourself. Let's redefine masculinity for a moment, not as dominance, not as aggression, but as the quiet power of a man who knows himself, governs his emotions, honors his values, and stays calm in the storm. That man doesn't chase love. He doesn't panic at rejection. He doesn't fear solitude. Because his validation doesn't come from outside, it comes from alignment with his inner truth. This is what Stoicism trains you for. Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. That includes your desires, your impulses, your reactions. Most men think freedom is doing whatever they want. But true freedom, Stoic freedom, is the power to not be controlled by what you want, to say no to temptation, to walk away from chaos, to sit with loneliness and let it refine you instead of running from it. Now look at how this applies to attraction. The man who hasn't mastered himself will crumble when she pulls away, becomes distant, or challenges him emotionally. He'll chase, beg, react. But the man who's built his inner kingdom doesn't flinch. He doesn't need her to validate him because he's already validated himself through discipline, solitude, and internal alignment. And that makes him irresistible. Carl Jung would say, this is the path of individuation, becoming the whole man, not just the persona you show the world. It's the integration of your shadow, your fears, your past. It's what makes you authentic, not performative. And authenticity is the only foundation for love that lasts. Let's ground this with real-world behaviors. Solitude over distraction. Spend time alone, not scrolling, not chasing, just with your thoughts. Listen to them, understand them. You can't master what you avoid. Discipline over emotion. Keep promises to yourself. If you say you'll wake at 6, do it. If you say you'll stop chasing unavailable people, follow through. Self-respect is built one small win at a time. Stillness over chaos. When your emotions swell, jealousy, anger, fear, pause, don't act, don't react, observe, breathe. Let the storm pass through without letting it command your ship. And here's the key. The more you master yourself, the more magnetic you become. Why? Because in a world full of emotionally chaotic men, the one who isn't becomes a lighthouse. Women feel it. They're drawn to it. Not because you're flashy, but because you're clear. They don't fall in love with your achievements. They fall in love with your energy, the calm current underneath it all. You stop being the man who needs to be loved and become the man worthy of love. In relationships, this changes everything. You stop chasing her moods. You stop trying to fix or rescue. You hold space. You lead. You embody what Jung called the self, the integrated man. And she can feel that, even if she can't describe it. So what's the final message? Stop obsessing over being wanted. Start focusing on being complete. When you are no longer seeking to be chosen, you become the man no one wants to lose. Because love isn't earned through performance. It's attracted through presence, and presence is only possible when your mind, heart, and spirit are your own. Now comment below, I don't chase peace, I become it. Number 7, becoming the Stoic man, the one she can't forget. In the end, the goal isn't to become the most charming man in the room. It's to become the most centered. Because charm fades, looks change, words can be forgotten, but energy, the way you make someone feel, that lingers. And the man who is grounded in Stoic self-mastery, who leads with calm and purpose, is the one women remember long after he's gone. Let's revisit the core of this transformation. It doesn't begin with tactics. It begins with truth. The truth that emotional strength, not emotional display, creates attraction. That composure speaks louder than compliments. That solitude builds the man while approval-seeking breaks him down. The Stoic man doesn't impress, he expresses. Not with grand declarations, but with steady presence. Not by chasing love, but by embodying it. Not through controlling outcomes, but by controlling himself. This is the paradox of real attraction. When you stop trying to get love, you start becoming it. Women sense it when you're not seeking their validation. When your silence isn't empty, but full of inner clarity. When your attention isn't scattered, but intentional. And that's when she begins to feel something she rarely feels: safe. Emotionally, energetically, psychologically. Carl Jung would describe this man as individuated, fully himself, unafraid of his shadow. He has met the chaos within and no longer runs from it. And in that quiet acceptance, he becomes magnetic. His calm is no longer a strategy, it's who he is. Stoicism reinforces this power. Marcus Aurelius didn't rule with noise. He ruled with presence. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the challenge this path offers. To stop pretending, to stop performing, to become. And when you become that man, emotionally sovereign, centered in your values, and free from the hunger for external validation, the world begins to respond. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence now speaks a language most never learn. The language of real power. Here's the final shift. Let go of needing to be liked. Be at peace with being misunderstood. The right people will feel you. Stop chasing outcomes. Focus on building the kind of character that draws good things to you naturally. Love without losing yourself. Real love is not possession, it's presence. The man who is whole attracts a woman who respects that wholeness. So what happens when you walk this path? You stop chasing people who don't see you. You stop performing for those who won't value you. You start building a life that reflects who you are, not who you think they want. And in that space of self-mastery, you become the man she never forgets. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are. Now speak out and comment below. I become the man no one needs to chase. You came here looking for what makes a man irresistible. Now you know, it's not effort, it's energy. It's not lines or moves, it's emotional restraint and grounded presence. 95.7% of women are unconsciously drawn to men who don't explain themselves, men who don't react emotionally, Men who know their value in silence. Men who don't compete for attention because their attention is rare. Carl Jung said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." And when you awaken to your own worth, the world, and she begins to respond differently. This isn't a trick. It's not a tactic. It's self-mastery. And when you master yourself, you no longer need to be chosen. You become the one who chooses. If you're ready to build the kind of inner strength that silently demands respect, like this video, subscribe, and comment. I don't seek to be desired, I choose to be whole. Stay calm, stay rare, because when you detach from needing her, you become the man she can't stop thinking about.